Good morning. Welcome to the center. Thank you for the treatment. I want to start with a reading that I'm very fond of. I usually share it 2 or 3 times a year. There's many of you who are new and you haven't heard it before. And those of you who've heard it, most of you love it like I do too. It was written by James Dillard Freeman, if I'm saying his name right. And it starts out, it's a poem. It was left in a time capsule on the moon. He was an astronaut, by the way, also. Do you need me? I am there. You cannot see me. You cannot see me, yet I am the light that you see by. You cannot hear me, yet I speak through your voice. You cannot feel me, yet I am the power at work in your hands. I am at work, though you don't understand my ways. I am at work, though you don't understand my works. I'm not strange visions. I'm not mysteries. Only in absolute stillness, beyond self, can you know me as I am, and then but as a feeling and a faith. Yet I'm there, yet I hear, yet I answer. When you need me, I am there. And even if you deny me, I am there. Even when you feel most alone, I am there. Even in your fears, I am there. I am there when you pray, and I'm there when you do not pray. I am in you, and you are in me. Only in your mind can you feel separate from me, for only in your mind are the mists of yours and mine. Yet only with your mind can you know me and experience me. Empty your heart of empty fears. When you get yourself out of the way, I am there. You can of yourself do nothing, but I can do all, and I am in all. Though you may not see the good, good is there, for I am there. I am there because I have to be, because I am. Only in me does the world have meaning, and only out of me does the world take form. Only because of me does the world go forward. I am the law on which the movement of the stars and the growth of living cells are founded. I am the love that is the law's fulfilling. I am assurance. I am peace. I am oneness. I am the law that you can live by, and I'm the love that you can cling to. I am your assurance. I am your peace. I am one with you. I am. And though you fail to find me, I do not fail you. Though your faith in me is unsure, my faith in you never wavers, because I know you, because I love you. Beloved, I am there. And so it is. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the center again. There's loads of people who are on who are new, and afterwards we have a chance for you to say hello. If you stay with us toward the end of the talk, we try to get to as many people as we can. No one has to share, but we always try to have an opportunity for people to introduce themselves. We meet every Sunday at 10:45 for our meditation and then our lesson afterwards. And we've got an ongoing self-healing class on Thursday evenings at 7. And that's where I do the Louise workshops that I've been involved in for probably 25 or 30 years now. Louise was a student here in New York, and she was an inspiration for me. So it's my joy and pleasure to bring that class on Thursdays at 7. We also have a creative living series, or it's also seen online as a creative lifestyle series Wednesdays. facilitated by Solomon Wells. So connect with us wherever you can, wherever you are able. Most of what we do can be watched on Facebook and YouTube as well. So invite your friends. We have a membership program. Membership is voluntary. You don't need to be a member, though we would love to invite you into membership. Those of you who are, we want you to request to renew your membership from 2022 into this year. There's a suggested love offering of $50, and there's also a scholarship box where you can check you need a scholarship. So what that really means is anyone can become a member who wants to be a member. Those of you who want to support us, we have in our links, in our chats, and our website, everywhere, there's the way for you to support or in any way you want, in any amount you want. So let's proceed with today's lesson. Today, I did some digging and I found something of Rev Wade Adkisson, who was here before some of his thoughts, and I thought I'd share them today. And so it's wonderful to be here again. I love teaching this great teaching because it brings forth the understanding and awareness that Spirit, God, Source, is everywhere present. And most of all, I want you to be aware that it's in you. And it's in me, and it's in everyone everywhere. And so I'm going to use some of Reverend Wade's words and mix them in with mine, and I'm going to trust it's all going to work out in divine order. This source, this God, this life, which can't be adequately described really or named, this infinite circle whose center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere, we celebrate that one life today as we do every Sunday. So as I go forward with the lesson, there's a story or two that I need to interject. Most of you have heard the story of the elephant and the blind man, I'm sure by now, but maybe some of you haven't. So I'm going to retell it. Once upon a time, there lived 6 blind men in a village, and one day the villagers told them, "Hey, there's an elephant in the village today." They had no idea what an elephant was. So they wanted to go, even though they couldn't see it, they went, and they heard people talking about it. They wanted to feel it. So all of them went to where the elephant was, and everyone touched it, the elephant. And then came the descriptions. One said, the elephant is a pillar. That was the first person. And then the second one said, "Oh no, it's like a rope," said the second person who touched the tail. And then, "Oh no, it's a thick branch of a tree." That was the third man who touched the trunk of the elephant. And the fourth said, "It's a big hand fan." And that was the person who was touching the ear of the elephant. And the fifth said, "It's like a huge wall." And this was the person who was touching the belly. And the sixth blind man who touched the tusk said, "It's a solid pipe." And they began to argue about the elephant, and every one of them insisted that he was right. It looked like they were getting agitated the more they discussed it. And a wise man was there at the time, walking by, and he saw this. He stopped and asked them, "What's the matter?" And they said, "We cannot agree to what this elephant is like." And each one of them told the wise man of what the elephant was like. And the wise man calmly said, "All of you are right. The reason every one of you is telling it differently is because each one of you touched a different part of the elephant. So actually the elephant has all those features you described." Everybody then was happy. They felt happy because they were right. See, most people, each of these blind men had a need to be right. And one of the morals of the story, there's several, is being right might be overrated. And that comes back in the teaching years ago. People would say to me, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And when I was younger, and you may have been there in your time, where you have really strong opinions, and you're at odds with yourself and you're at odds with other people. So being right might be overrated. We come into this teaching and we start to learn that we have a lot of criticism, we have a lot of judgments, and they get us into states of consciousness where there's conflict, and we, as we embrace the teaching more and more, we're learning to let go of a lot of things. So we have a lot of judgments, we have attachments. I remember being in therapeutic groups over the years. Attachments are troubling because it basically means I need this to be a certain way. I need you to be a certain way. And we can get into the teaching, some of the great talks of Barker and others, where people try to change people. And we learn here that, it can't be done. And more than that, it can't be done. You wouldn't want to change people. People are who they are, the way they are. Life is unfolding perfectly. So, we don't really want to be trying to tell people how to run their lives. And Louise speaks of it when she talks in the chapter about using the word should. She'll say, stop it. She'll say, because wherever you're using it, you're either making someone wrong or you're making yourself wrong. And we have these strong judgments, and they really get in the way. So now I'm infusing some of Rev Wade's lessons where he said we have a lot of judgments, and I'll add attachments, that we could be examining, and so we could move along. We want to release these, the critical part of ourselves, and just let them go. And we have a tendency to make things up. So we see things in a certain way, like the blind man with the elephant. And then we get attached to it being a certain way, and we only know a part of the picture. And that's really what we do when we judge people. We get it wrong because we don't know their story, we haven't walked in their shoes. So wherever we find ourselves in that place of judgment, it's really wise, as you're learning to live the affirmative life, to let that go. So today we continue on with the lesson, thanking the universe that we're free, or we can be free as we let go of all of this stuff. Alan Cohen famously describes sin, S-I-N, as self-imposed nonsense, S-I-N, self-imposed nonsense. So we want to let go of all our tendency to be fault-finding. We want to stop finding fault in ourselves, and we want to stop finding fault in others. And we're waking up in this teaching to see the good, the God, the good in everyone and in ourselves. We want to release the past, and we want to forgive everybody. And we want to do that so we can be in a new moment without all that garbage, that trash. Holmes said we carry around dead wood, or he actually said ancient corpses. We carry around stuff, my history. I carry it around, and then I can't see you anymore because I've got a story, his story, and I really want to be free of that. We want to learn to live in the now, fully present in the now. How do you do that? How can that be done? The only way it can be done is if you drop, I'll call it the rock. You drop all the opinions of yesterdays and all the history, and that's tough. You're in relationships with people, and it gets to a point where you can't see them anymore because you've got such a story that you run in your head about them, and that's part of our work. We want to be alive in a new moment so we can see the good, the God in the new moment, and we can have a holy encounter with a person without the story. One of my very best teachers, and I've had a few that have been really good, always said, we're in the business here of trading in the lesser ideas for the greater. And that's a good idea. It's a good phrase to remember. You're in the business of trading in the stuff that doesn't work well for the ideas that really are expansive and the ideas that will take you and move you. And so you can hitch your wagon to the stars that Emerson talked about. You want to exchange the things that are holding you back, the judgments, the shoulds and all that stuff. Really release them, release the need for them. Whatever payoff you're getting from them, we say, I release it, and so I can be free. Because my judgments or guilt or blame and all that stuff really, it hurts me, it holds me back, it stops me from experiencing the abundant, wonderful life that is really available for me. The universe is nothing less than amazing. It's always revealing new information to us, especially when we're open and receptive. I recall an important question asked of me some decades ago. In addition to the suggestion of always being willing to trade the lesser ideas in for the greater, I was asked, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? It's another one of those questions that you can store in the back of your mind when you find yourself in a heated discussion. Would I rather be right or would I rather be happy? And you might think about that as things come up in the future. Emerson was wonderful. I don't know if you'll ever take the time to read him because it takes some effort. But he had so much brilliance in his essays, which I think, are best to be read aloud. But he says our bloated nothingness, gets in the way of the divine circuits. And if you take the time to read that essay, it's just all this, our judgments and our opinions and all that stuff that we have about ourselves, where we think poorly of ourselves or we think poorly of other people. That's the stuff that gets in the way of the divine circuits. So when I ask the question, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? That's the question, if you can bring yourself to joy and happiness, if you can drop whatever the strong opinion or resentment is, you can be restored in a second. You can bring yourself back. It's the story of the prodigal child. You're born into the kingdom where you can spiritually experience, just a wondrous life, but you're heir to everything good, and yet you're off in the weeds. So as soon as you notice that you are there, off in the far country, whatever you want to think of it, you can gently bring yourself back. Okay. Louise, who you all know I love, famous student here and one of an inspiration to me, said, I can let go, I can let all of that go. I can let go of the angst, I can let go of the worry, I can let go of the judgments and the resentments. And all of that will free me. Letting go has the ability to transform all of us. And it has the ability to transform your entire life. Now, everyone has a different take on life, and very few of us have the whole picture, right? And we who are students here, we come together week by week so we can remember who we are. We can remember that we're an inlet and outlet of God consciousness. We tune in here as often as we can, or we listen to the messages on Facebook or YouTube, just so somebody can remind us of how wonderful we are and the potential that we have, and the whole universe responds to us. So we're far from powerless, I want everybody in the call to know that they're powerful and know that there's a universe that responds to them affirmatively. In other words, it responds to you according to what you believe. So we come here and we learn to set our sights high, and we keep trading in those lesser ideas for the greater. Since we're mostly virtual, and yet there's a lot of people who are starting to come back, we see a few every week. We're on Zoom, and we're on social platforms. We can't play music like we used to because there's every type of copyright. But there was a song that I used to play with a few of these topics. And this particular lesson, I remember, the song was by the Judds, and it was called Testify, or Testify to Love. I'm sure you remember the song, most of you. And a couple of the lyrics would say, every corner of creation lives to testify. I mean, you can see God in everything and everyone. if you want to. Every corner of creation lives to testify. All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind. Every human dream, striving, story lives to testify the creative urge that's behind life everywhere. And it's magnificent for those of us who have the eyes to see. We're not here judging life. We're really excited, because we see it moving forward. And this is what we do here if we're practicing the teaching. We're in the business of seeing the good. I love Edwina Gaines. I've been in some of her workshops. She's a prosperity teacher, and she used to say, we're here to see the God in the good, and the good in the God. And I love the fact that she would use those words interchangeably. Life is magnificent, and you can see and you can witness, you can testify to the transformations that have happened in your life, and you've seen it in others. And that's what I'll call the right track, because if you're training yourself to see the good in the God, what you're doing is you're expanding your whole consciousness. And we know here that we heard from Dr. Holmes and others that the universe can't do for us unless it can only do for us what it can do through us. So we want to see the good, and we want to see the possibility, and want to expand ourselves to the point where we have these bigger buckets, this greater receptivity to have more good show up in our life. We're here to elevate our thinking, and as we do, we entirely transform our consciousness. It's a practice, of course, and it might take a little bit of time. Louise Hay famously said it's like cleaning her apartment or her house. You just begin where you are, one thought at a time. So we practice seeing what's right. We practice seeing what's good. With every breath we take, we give thanks. And as we do, we're testifying to love. Can you imagine what life might look like if you began to talk about what makes you happy? If you testify to love, if you testify to the good that you're experiencing, if you're talking about your gratitude. Sometimes it's easier to look back and see it. As you think back in your life, you see what you've been through, the lessons you've had, and the lessons, all the things that have happened that you might have seemed tough at the time have brought you to where you are now. When we're coming from a place of connection, and that's what we do when we do affirmative prayer. We realize that there is spirit, and the second part of treatment is, and that spirit's in me. And when we're coming from that place of knowing that it's in me operating through me, when you're coming from that place where you're able to see goodness that's everywhere, when you're doing that, you're learning to practice this teaching more and more. Your life starts to become transformed and happier because you're developing a sense of positive expectancy as you release all that other stuff. Truth students are committed to the process of seeing love and goodness and knowing that there is a presence and a power that's here. And more importantly, knowing it's not only is it here, it's in us, each and every one of us. So to any of you, the hundreds that will listen to this talk throughout the week, the good you're seeking for is in you, operating through you, and it's longing for more. It's longing for you to express through, open up and express. So most of us, as we get more and more involved in this teaching, we look past the relative, we look past the troubles, and we look past the flaws in people and in ourselves because we look to see the greater good. We know it's always in operation during any and all circumstances. Even when it doesn't look like it's there, it's there. That's why I wanted to read the Freeman poem, I am there. It's there even when it doesn't look like it's there. We release the need to complain. We release the need to live our lives as victims. We release our need to talk about what's not perfect. We release the need to talk about what's not to our liking. We release the need to be chronic complainers. I was told years ago that people who practice this teaching are the applauders of life. We're here, saying, good job, and not just to people, but to ourselves. We're here to acknowledge anything we see that's positive, and we build on that. We begin to live affirmatively. We do affirmative prayer often. Say your affirmations, put them on the mirror, put them everywhere, and begin to, more than just say them, begin to have some faith in them, because they will take form as you learn to believe in what you're affirming. We take the time in this teaching and make an effort to know good is here and it's here now. We always have an opportunity to turn to it, to plug into it, and remember that we are one with this good. We gradually begin to understand, as Louise Hay often said, all is well. You're in the right place at the right time, and all is well, no matter what it looks like. As we're doing this and as we're practicing, we're developing a healing consciousness, and we're learning to be more mindful, truly mindful. And we have new moments without any spin, any story about people, places, or things. And our life becomes filled with positive expectancy. This is our heritage. This is what we're here to awaken to, that this power is in us, operating through us. And with the understanding that it's there, we have the ability to create magnificent lives. We are divinely entitled to change our mind and to see the good. And in this teaching, we have tools for transformation. Ernest Holmes was our founder, and he stated, "Find me one person who is so redeemed from the bondage of self that they're for something and against nothing, and I will have found the Redeemer of my soul." See, we talk of the affirmative prayer and living the affirmative life. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for many, and it's a high calling to see the good. But that's what our high calling is, to see the good in us, even when we're not quite where we want to be, to keep acknowledging, I love, accept, and approve of you. Speaking of yourself, I love, accept, and approve of you exactly as you are. And keep extending that compassion and that love to others. So it's a challenge. If you take the challenge, you're in for an exciting and wonderful life as you embrace these changes. At times we confront our conflicting stories and our old ideas. It'll seem like, oh my God, I love this teaching. I'm 5 steps forward, and then it seems like we slip back. But don't let that stop you. Just keep working at it. All of life and you are going forward, no matter what it looks like to you. Consciousness on this planet is evolving through every one of us collectively. The spirit, the power, the genius, the love is in every one of us and everywhere on the planet. As it's in you, it's in everyone. Truly, your brother and sister, love them, for they're part of you. The consciousness on the planet is evolving by means of all of us. We're on this journey together of learning, of discovery. And here's the thing to understand, even as we make mistakes, the universe always has our back. You can, with this teaching, be as though, because the teaching allows you to you're not in the story of the masses. You're really coming from an elevated place where you understand the perfection of life. It's like you're on the crest of a wave, and you can see so much. You're one with this ocean, and yet you have clear vision. There's a quietness, and you have a sense of your purpose, and you can see so much. Being one with life, you realize that there is that within you that knows, a lot, right? It's quietly sometimes wooing you, it's trying to get your attention. We have inner guidance, and it would be really smart of us to be present and slow down, take that pause that we talk about and listen and allow the guidance. The great Emerson told us long ago, one of his essays, the dice of God are loaded, and sooner or later, lesson after lesson, we get it. And we wake up to this idea that there is a presence and there's a power that's indwelling. And as we understand that it's in us, operating through us, we start to let go of attachments and the need to be right. And we have the ability to live with increased awareness of this presence. And we begin to live trusting it. And we don't complain because we know how good life is. And I know most of you want to live this kind of life. Our teaching attracts you, and the only thing is just to stay with it. Stay with it. Stay in the conversation. You don't have to do anything in particular. Just keep on considering how great thou art, that there is this power, this presence that's in you, it's wooing you. And allow it to get your attention and move you. You have your being in this divine energy. You have heard of the goldfish swimming around before, looking for water. I'm sure you've heard that story. Yeah, okay. It's in water, of course, and it's looking for water. I remember a time when I was always off on a journey to hear some healer, some person who wrote a book, someone who had a better approach. And this was probably 30 years ago. A new hero, a new guru of one kind or another. Perhaps you've done some of these things yourself. And when you come into this teaching after a while, you wake up and you realize there's nowhere to go and there's very little that you have to do. The journey home has been called the journey without a distance, to a place most people are unfamiliar with. You remember with Louise, hey, deep at the center of my being, there is an infinite well of love, a place. Well, this holy place, this indwelling good and God is in all of us. And as we touch it, and as we learn to commune with it, we realize that you're opening up a door where you realize that you're one with all the power that there is. We say, Raymond Charles Barker, who's the founder of this church, said, you have a rich parent, and it's living inside of you, and it's always responding to you affirmatively. In those days, he would say, you have a rich father. I'll say you have a rich parent. And, as you understand the teaching more and more, you're going to understand the kingdom or the realm is at hand. It's the same message Jesus was teaching all those years ago. You can open yourself up to infinite good as you just remove the debris and all the strong opinions and judgments. We might have suffered and we might have lost, we might have been lost, but from Emerson, he said the infinite alone, he said the finite alone has wrought and suffered. So we suffer when we get stuck with our judgments and our opinions. He said the universe, the infinite lays in smiling repose. The infinite spirit, energy, woos and waits for us to discover its secrets. And as you wake and as you discover who you are and you know, you have a glimpse of that, and to know all that you imagine, all you see is alive and here to testify to the glory and the good. Our Sunday lessons are many things to many people. They're always an invitation to remember the truth, to remember that you are one with life, eternal, and that you're doing just fine. There is more good that you can experience. Doesn't matter if you're 8 or you're 80. Your life can be whole. It can be richer still with every good thing. It is the universe's good pleasure to give and to give. It's a reciprocal and reflective process. We learn here to give in every area of our life. We trust and we give. It shows we have faith and we open up avenues within ourselves to receive. Life loves a giver. Give your encouragement. Say yes, good. Say great. Thank people. Life loves a giver. Look for ways to give. Give your time, your talents. Share some of your treasure. As you do this, it'll open up good of every kind. Ernest Holmes states, every person pays a price for the things that they receive. We're here to feel expansive and not feel constricted. So you know what it is to feel expansive. Again, life loves the giver. So give of your time. Say good, applaud people, release the need to be critical. Holmes also said it's a mistake to think that we can get whatever we want or wish. And he went on to say, remember, we do not merely attract to us what we want or wish. We attract we attract that which is a mirror to us. And so what he's getting at there is whatever is living in your consciousness and you're thinking of all the time is what you demonstrate in your life. I'm going to close with this idea. Thursday evenings I usually ask, what's it like being you? And the question is, I want people to understand that your thought and your thinking and all the things that you dwell upon are creating your life. And it's that mirror that I just mentioned. So with that in mind, we can change our thinking about ourselves. Think about what your inner dialogue is about and just say, I can change that around. I can see peace instead of what I'm thinking. Okay, I want to have one closing idea. This was from Reverend Wade's lesson. There is no one, I repeat, no one ever holding us back. No one's holding you back except perhaps for yourself. We will always, with the mirror, we'll always demonstrate in life what we are in consciousness. There's great change going on in the world right now, and there's great change going on within you right now. Nothing is staying the same as much as we sometimes might like to think. We might want it to stay the same, but nothing's staying the same. There's no accident that you're on the broadcast today or you're in the audience hearing this lesson. There's an invitation here, though, always to trust life, to recommit to living the affirmative life, to think of yourself in a bigger and a greater way, to step up, to know that you're here to be about your parents' business. And my favorite phrase on this subject is, each of us, I want you to realize, whatever you're doing here, you might think it's small, whatever activity you're doing that's corrective, you're doing important work. And it's very important as you start to change a pattern and let go of something and start seeing yourself in a bigger way. You're doing important work, and as we say here, I'm doing important work, and I can't come down. The center is committed to expanding and growing. We always don't know the way. We've learned to become a virtual center with an in-person audience as well. We're finding our way. The way will be made clear to you once you make an intention to step up and trade in the lesser ideas that you might be having for the greater. So know that you're doing important work, and say to yourself, I'm not going down, I'm moving forward. Today I invite you to take the reins of your life, as Ernest Holmes said, and know that there's power for good in the universe, in life, and you can definitely use it. Every corner of creation lives to testify of the great good. Every hand and heart that reaches out testifies to what love has done. You can heal your life. You can experience more of every good thing. You can learn to be a giver, an applauder of every good thing, and you can begin to give the gift of your love and your attention to those around you, for we are all truly a part of one another. Jesus had it right when he said, to love life with all your heart and to love your brother as yourself, because it's all one. One source, one God, and you are awakening. You're awakening to this connection, your connection, and knowing that it's in you. And that source, that thing you're looking for, is in you, operating through you, as it is in all of us. And we want to realize that we're all in this together, and we live, move, and have our being in this. Let's close today by knowing that we are in this perfect place. We're one with presence, with abundant life. We're receiving a message that reminds us that we are, by right of our birth, divinely entitled to a full life of joy. I declare each of us have heard and taken to heart what is needed to move forward with joy and with positive expectancy. And so it is. Thank you all.